All right, so today we're going to dive deep, really deep, into the AI world.
Deep dive time.
Yeah, and to guide us, we've got this awesome book, Ai世界.
Catchy title.
I know, right? In English, it's Underlying Logic of the AI World and Survival Principles. And it's by Cheng-Shi Chia.
SEGA.
SEGA, exactly. I mean, this guy's not just some talking head. He's the CEO of Ai,
Which, for anybody who doesn't know, is a serious player in the AI world.
and he's got the credentials to back it up. Master's from Stanford, specialized in AI.
Not to mention, his history with Google is crazy. Like, the first Taiwanese software engineer intern at Google. Come on.
Then an actual software engineer, and even spoke at Google I.O.
Back in 2010. That's ancient history in the AI world.
So yeah, when SEGA talks AI, we listen.
Absolutely. And what I find super interesting is the book's dedication to his parents for always pushing him to challenge himself, and to his family for supporting his entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, that really sets the tone. Like, this is about growth, about taking risks, about having the support to dive into something new.
And who better to guide us through the AI landscape than someone who embodies those values?
Exactly, and that's exactly what we want to do for you, the learner, in this deep dive.
Give you the tools to not just survive, but thrive in this AI world.
Right, because things are changing so fast, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Totally. But we want to help you understand those fundamental shifts that are happening in AI. What principles always hold true, no matter what crazy new developments come out?
And most importantly, give you some clear, actionable strategies so you can navigate all this without getting lost in the tech jargon.
No one wants to be left behind.
Absolutely not. And this book, it came out at a really crucial time. The world's still trying to wrap its head around ChatGPT.
ChatGPT really shook things up.
Seriously. Like, it's made everyone realize the potential of AI, but also kind of freaked people out.
Job security worries, keeping up with the pace of change, it's a lot.
And that's where this book shines. Even Qin Lifeng, a Kala board member and former Google Taiwan general manager.
Big name.
Yeah, he specifically said that SEGA's amazing at making AI understandable. He actually addresses those real human anxieties.
Humanizes the tech, so to speak.
Exactly. And think about this. Here in Taiwan, ChatGPT adoption's been kind of slow.
Really?
Yeah, like 74% of people haven't even used it, and only a tiny fraction use it regularly.
Huh, interesting.
So if you're in Taiwan especially, this deep dive is for you.
Or anywhere, honestly. Everyone's trying to make sense of this AI boom.
And SEGA gets right to the point. He's got this quote that just sums it up. Kaitai ni desu aisyo AI divan.
It is people who use AI who will replace you. Chilling, but true.
Right. So with that in mind, let's jump into those key takeaways from the book.
Let's do it.
First things first, AI is developing super fast. Like, think about it. We've got these large language models getting more and more advanced.
Humanoid robots that are actually becoming useful.
And governments all over the world are trying to figure out how to regulate it.
It's a wild west out there.
But SEGA, right in the preface, he brings up this crucial point. In a world where everything's changing so rapidly, what doesn't change becomes even more important to focus on.
I love that idea.
Right. And he even quotes Bezos, that famous Bezos question about what won't change in the next 10 years.
Smart move, referencing Bezos.
It is, right. So why do you think that idea, focusing on the unchanging, why is that so vital now?
Well, think about it. When there's so much new stuff coming at you all the time, it's easy to just get swept away by the hype.
Chasing the next big thing instead of building a solid foundation.
Exactly. And I love how SEGA talks about his lying flat strategy during the initial ChatGPT frenzy.
I remember that. He basically refused to get caught up in all the hype and rush into investments.
Exactly. He saw that those early projects could become obsolete super quickly as the technology kept advancing.
So it was strategic patience, waiting for things to mature a bit,
A very zen approach to AI.
Seriously, and his big point was, focus on those core business models that are already working. See AI as a way to enhance what you already have.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Make the wheel roll faster.
Perfect analogy. And he gives examples of those huge tech companies, Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple.
They're not scrapping everything and starting over.
No, they're using AI to make their existing products and services even better.
So what does this mean for the rest of us who aren't tech giants?
I think it's a huge lesson in focusing on what you're already good at and then figuring out how AI can make you even better.
Don't get distracted by the shiny new objects.
Right. And beyond the business stuff, SEGA also emphasizes the importance of those fundamental success principles.
The old school stuff, right?
Yeah. Optimism, ambition, lifelong learning, consistent effort, the things that never go out of style.
The human element.
Totally. And he calls these invariants, things that remain constant no matter how advanced the technology becomes.
Makes sense. Because at the end of the day, technology, including AI, it's all about serving human needs.
Right. And even though the tools are changing, those fundamental human desires for connection, for progress, for understanding, those stay the same.
The invariance. I like it.
Me too. And there's this other cool concept SEGA brings up. He calls it dualistic conflict thinking about technology.
Dualistic conflict thinking. That's a mouthful.
I know, right? But it's basically this idea that we can be super excited about AI's potential and at the same time be concerned about what we might lose.
Losing the human touch.
Exactly. Like what happens to the spirit of exploration, of genuine human connection when things become increasingly automated?
It's a valid concern. Like, we don't want to become so reliant on machines that we forget how to be human.
And SEGA doesn't shy away from the big question, is there? You know, the one that's been on everyone's mind since AI started getting really good.
Consciousness.
Bingo. Now, the book doesn't dive deep into that philosophical rabbit hole.
Probably for the best, honestly.
But he does acknowledge it as this huge question that humanity's wrestling with, especially now.
It's like AI is forcing us to re-examine what it even means to be human.
Exactly, and it ties directly into his core motto, which I think is brilliant. Ida Asia.
Doing AI, talking about humanity.
Powerful, right? It's that reminder to balance technological progress with our human values.
Don't let the tech overshadow the human element.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And you know, one of the things that really resonated with me was this anecdote about SEGA's visit to a cafe in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah? What happened there?
So picture this. He's in this cafe, and Pepper robots are serving customers.
Pepper. Those robots have been around forever.
I know, right? But he was struck by how they weren't just doing tasks, you know, like bringing food or cleaning up.
What were they doing then?
They were actually interacting with people. Like he observed them engaging with this elderly couple, even entertaining a kid while the mom was busy on her phone.
Huh, that's interesting.
It is, right? And it made him realize that robots are starting to move beyond just being tools.
Stepping into those social roles.
Exactly. And it's totally different from those robots you might see in a factory or a hotel just doing repetitive tasks.
This is about interaction, even a form of companionship.
Right. So what do you think that means for the future?
Well, it seems like robots are becoming more integrated into our daily lives in ways we might not have even imagined before.
Like beyond just automating tasks, they might start playing roles in our social fabric.
Companionship, caregiving, even just making us smile.
And this experience clearly stuck with SEGA because he connects it to the announcement of the Figure 01 robot. You familiar with that one?
I've heard about it. Isn't that the one with the GPT model integrated?
Yes, and that's a huge leap. It means this robot can actually understand complex reasoning, even in direct commands.
Like, it can figure out what you mean, not just what you say.
Exactly. Like if you ask it for something to eat, it can actually identify an apple in the room and bring it to you.
Wow. That's a lot more sophisticated than those early robots that just followed basic instructions.
Totally. So now let's zoom out a little and talk about the bigger picture of the AI landscape, because there's been a massive shift recently.
ChatGPT was the turning point, would you say?
Absolutely. SEGA emphasizes how ChatGPT basically accelerated the entire AI timeline and triggered this huge global competition.
It was a wake-up call for a lot of companies.
Like, oh crap, we got to get in the AI game or we're going to be left behind.
And we've seen the result, right? This flood of new models coming out.
It's crazy. Like Llama from Meta, Google's Gemini, Claude 3, Mistral Large, all within a very short period.
It's like everyone's trying to one-up each other.
Totally. And of course, we can't forget about NVIDIA. They're having a field day with all this.
GPUs, baby.
All those graphics processing units powering those massive AI models. It's their time to shine.
But SEGA makes a really good point. AI isn't actually new.
It's been around a lot longer than people think.
Like, the Turing test was proposed back in 1950. And the Dartmouth conference, where the term artificial intelligence was actually coined, that was in 56.
So this has been brewing for decades, but the progress hasn't been a straight line up, you know?
There have been those AI winters, those periods where funding and interest kind of dried up.
Because the technology wasn't quite there yet.
But now, things have fundamentally shifted.
SEGA talks about this transition from predictive AI to generative AI.
That's a big one.
Huge. Like before, it was all about using machine learning to find patterns in data. You know?
Making predictions, informed decisions, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. But generative AI, that's a whole new ballgame.
It can actually create new content, text, images, even code.
And that's what's blowing people's minds right now.
So what do you think was the missing piece in those earlier decades? What was holding AI back?
Data.
Data.
Yep. SEGA points out that in the past, there just wasn't enough data to train these complex models.
Makes sense. AI needs to learn from somewhere.
Plus, cloud computing wasn't as developed, so processing all that data was a nightmare.
And we didn't have smartphones constantly generating mountains of data.
Exactly. So it was like trying to build a skyscraper with toothpicks.
And speaking of those early challenges, SEGA shares this really interesting story about his time researching autonomous driving.
Oh, yeah. What was that about?
So they were trying to develop software that could detect cars in real time, for self-driving cars.
Crucial, obviously.
Totally. But their early attempts weren't very accurate
Why not?
because they were trying to analyze the entire image from the camera.
What was wrong with that?
Well, think about it. In most images, a big chunk of the top part is just sky.
Useless for detecting cars.
Exactly. So they realized, hey, why are we wasting processing power on the sky?
And they just focused the analysis on the lower two-thirds of the image?
Simple, but brilliant.
And their accuracies shot up immediately.
It's amazing how sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from those simple, common-sense realizations.
Seriously. And then there was this huge breakthrough in 2012.
AlexNet, ringing a bell.
It won the ImageNet Challenge, which is like the Olympics for computer vision.
Oh, yeah. And it had this crazy low error rate, way better than anything else at the time.
And it was all thanks to advancements in neural networks, tons of data to train on, and more powerful computing.
Deep learning was starting to show its potential.
But here's the thing. The basic concept behind neural networks, it wasn't even new.
Wait, so what was the big deal with AlexNet then?
It was the first time someone really scaled up neural networks. They use huge data sets and a ton of processing power.
So it was like taking an old idea and supercharging it.
Exactly, and it totally revitalized the field. Suddenly, everyone was talking about deep learning again.
And then, 2015, another milestone.
In the ImageNet Challenge again, right?
Yep. And this time, computer vision algorithms actually beat humans at object recognition.
That was a pretty significant moment.
It really was. Like, in certain specific tasks, AI was officially better than us.
And of course, we can't forget AlphaGo in 2017.
Beating Lee Sedol, the Go champion, that was huge news everywhere.
It was, but SEGA points out that its immediate impact wasn't as big as you might think.
Why not? Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, but Go, it's a very complex game, but it's also kind of niche, you know?
Not like everyone plays Go.
Exactly. So its relevance to everyday problems wasn't immediately obvious to most people.
Unlike, say, AI that can understand human language or recognize images.
Right. He also mentions DeepMind's AlphaFold, which was a big deal in 2018 for predicting protein structures.
That was huge for science, especially biology and medicine.
Absolutely. But again, it didn't really capture the public imagination in the same way.
I guess people just don't get as excited about protein structures as they do about beating a Go champion.
Maybe, and then, boom, ChatGPT arrives in November 2022.
Game changer.
Totally. Its ability to have actual conversations, like natural-sounding, human-like conversations, that was unlike anything we'd seen before.
And it caught everyone by surprise.
It really did, and SEGA emphasizes this key difference between the old predictive AI and this new generative AI.
One predicts, the other creates.
Exactly. Predictive AI, it's been working in the background for years, you know?
Recommending products, detecting fraud, that kind of stuff.
Right, but generative AI, it's about direct interaction. You're actually talking to it, getting it to create something for you.
And that's what makes it so powerful, so exciting.
And a little scary, honestly.
True.
But let's break down what makes generative AI so different. It's got access to this massive amount of data.
It can actually reason and understand information.
And then it can structure that information and generate text, often way faster and in greater volume than any human could.
It's like having a super-powered research assistant.
Totally. But there's also this underlying aspect of text continuation that's still kind of mind-boggling.
Like it's predicting what words come next, but it feels like it's actually thinking.
I know, right? And that brings us back to that big question of consciousness. Are these AI models actually thinking, or are they just really good at mimicking thought?
The age-old debate.
And then there's the Turing test, which has been the holy grail of AI for decades.
Can a machine convince a human that it's also human?
Exactly. And then there's the concept of the singularity.
That's the idea that AI will eventually surpass human intelligence.
And all bets are off at that point.
A bit terrifying, but also kind of thrilling.
Totally. But what's been really remarkable is just how fast people have adopted AI.
ChatGPT hit 100 million users in 2 months.
The fastest growing internet service in history.
It's mind-blowing.
Seriously. And it's becoming part of our lives, both at work and at home.
Like it or not, AI is here to stay.
And SEGA gives this great example from Icala. They started using GitHub Copilot, which is an AI coding assistant.
I've heard of that. It basically helps you write code faster.
And it increased their engineers' productivity by 100%.
100%. That's insane.
I know. And SEGA emphasizes how historically rare those kinds of gains are.
It's a real testament to AI's potential to transform how we work.
And he even suggests that we might look back on 2023 as the start of a new era.
The beginning of a human AI intelligence civilization.
Whoa.
It's a bold claim, but maybe he's right.
It does feel like things are changing at an unprecedented pace.
So, given all this rapid change, how do we even begin to navigate the AI world?
That's the big question, right? And SEGA, he drawed on his experience from the early days of the pandemic.
The pandemic, what does that have to do with AI?
Well, he noticed that during those major global shifts, there are always huge opportunities for change.
Like the way wealth and power are distributed.
Exactly. And the choices we make during those transitions, they shape the outcome.
So what's the key takeaway for navigating the AI revolution?
Mindset. We need the right mindset.
How so?
By understanding the difference between what's changing and what's staying the same.
Identifying those fundamental principles that will guide us, regardless of how crazy things get.
And knowing that making the right strategic decisions is more important than just working hard on the wrong things.
It's about working smart, not just hard.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about everyone's biggest fear, AI taking our jobs.
It's a valid concern.
It is. But SEGA, he takes this broader historical view. He compares it to the Industrial Revolution, the computer revolution.
Times of massive change, but we adapted.
We always adapt. And he reminds us that humans are incredibly good at learning new skills, upskilling, evolving.
We found new ways to contribute.
Like, think about the transition from horse-drawn carriages to cars.
That created a whole new industry.
Exactly. And then there's the ATM example. Remember all the fears about ATMs replacing bank tellers?
I can't even remember the last time I talked to a teller at a bank.
Right. But banks didn't disappear, and tellers didn't all lose their jobs.
Their roles just changed.
Exactly. So instead of asking, will AI replace jobs, SEGA says we should be asking, which tasks will AI replace?
That's a much more specific and less scary question.
Right. Because AI is really good at those repetitive tasks, those data-heavy things. And it's getting better at reasoning, too.
But there are things it still can't do.
Like complex coordination, nuanced decision-making, effective management, things that require a human touch.
So it's not about replacing humans, it's about redefining our roles.
Exactly. And there's this report from the Nielsen-Norman Group that found some huge productivity increases due to AI.
Oh yeah? What kind of increases?
Customer service saw a 20% boost with chatbots. Content creation jumped by 70%.
70%? That's huge.
I know. And software engineering, a whopping 125% increase in productivity.
That's incredible.
But here's the key. Those jobs didn't disappear. They became more efficient.
Right, because AI can handle those specific tasks that take up a lot of time.
Exactly. Like AI can help you brainstorm ideas, draft text, get over that initial hurdle of starting something new.
It's like overcoming that static friction, as SEGA puts it.
Perfect analogy. And there's even an MIT study that found a 37% reduction in time for writing tasks with AI assistance.
And the quality improved too.
By almost 20%.
That's a pretty compelling argument for using AI.
Seriously. So SEGA brings us back to that key saying, "Kaiji ni AI or shena AI then you're."
It is not AI that will replace you, but those who use AI.
So the message is clear. Learn how to use these tools or get left behind.
Become the one wielding the AI, not the one being replaced by it.
Exactly. But remember, generative AI is a tool for inspiration and collaboration. It's not about expecting it to spit out perfect, finished products.
Use it to enhance your own capabilities.
And SEGA gives us some really practical examples of how he uses AI in his own work.
Oh yeah? Like what?
He uses ChatGPT for outlining memos, preparing speeches, drafting social media posts.
Smart.
And even for proofing his English, which he says has actually helped him learn.
AI as a language tutor?
It's pretty amazing, and he talks about how these tools are like having access to this vast repository of knowledge.
The collective wisdom of the internet condensed into a chat bot.
Seriously. And at Kala, they're embracing AI internally, too.
In what ways?
They started by making all their first-line managers try ChatGPT.
To find real-world applications for their teams.
Exactly. And now they're using it for things like brainstorming project names, suggesting structures for press releases.
That's clever.
Even outlining reports for meetings.
Saving so much time and effort.
And they've even built their own internal AI platform, kind of like a private ChatGPT.
To keep things secure and control the data.
Exactly. And they use it for drafting emails, scheduling meetings, even writing apology letters.
Apology letters? Really?
Yep. Apparently, it's been a lifesaver for people who aren't as comfortable with formal writing.
That's pretty cool.
And SEGA predicts that the next generation, they're going to be using AI as naturally as we use smartphones now.
It'll just be an everyday tool for them.
Totally. So back to the job market, SEGA's advice is to focus on roles that complement AI and always keep learning about its capabilities.
Don't be afraid of AI, understand it.
Right, and he talked about this 3-stage model for becoming a mature worker.
Dependent, independent, and interdependent.
Exactly, and that last stage, interdependent, that's where a lot of people struggle.
Collaboration is key.
It is, but it requires a shift in mindset from individual achievement to shared goals.
And strong communication skills.
which, surprisingly, a lot of people lack.
I guess those skills aren't always emphasized in traditional education.
And SEGA uses this cool analogy. He talks about playing strategy video games like Age of Empires.
Oh, yeah.
He says it's like a crash course in those three stages. First, you're dependent on others to learn the game.
Then you become independent, building your own empire.
And then, to really succeed, you need to form alliances, be interdependent.
Video games as professional development, who knew?
It's actually a pretty insightful analogy, and he compares it to the metaverse experience where people can rapidly level up their skills.
So what does that mean for the real world?
He thinks we can use AI tools to accelerate our own professional growth.
AI is an amplifier for our abilities.
Exactly. And he compares it to how tools like typewriters and keyboards change the way we work with text.
Revolutionize productivity.
Totally. And then he introduces this concept of the superstar effect.
What's that?
He thinks those who master AI tools could potentially be 10 times more productive than those who don't.
A huge gap.
Yeah. Like, imagine if J.K. Rowling had AI helping her write. She could probably turn out books even faster.
Or that Japanese novelist Rikudan, who won the Akutagawa Prize, she used ChatGPT for part of her writing process.
It's about unlocking new levels of creativity and productivity.
But there's also a downside to all this.
The talent market is changing big time.
It's becoming more unequal.
SEGA talks about this M-shaped trend. Like, you've got this small group of highly skilled AI experts at the top.
Earning big bucks.
Then at the bottom, we have the low-paid workers doing those data labeling tasks to train the AI.
And the middle is shrinking.
Exactly. Those jobs that require skills AI can easily automate, they're disappearing.
Not a good place to be.
And look at the tech giants. They're laying off people while simultaneously hiring top AI talent.
A clear sign of where the industry is headed.
So SEGA's advice, strive for the top, or risk getting left behind.
Become an AI master, or at least learn how to use the tools effectively.
Exactly. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When it comes to hiring at ICALA, they're not just looking for tech wizards.
What are they looking for then?
Basic digital literacy, like being comfortable with email, Line, Google Docs.
That's it.
It's more about the soft skills.
Soft skills. In the AI age.
More important than ever.
Why is that?
Because AI can handle a lot of those hard skills now. But the things that make us human, those are the ones that really matter.
Makes sense.
And then there's the question of whether traditional learning still holds value when we have AI that can access all the world's information.
Like, why bother learning if a computer can just tell you everything?
Right. But SEGA, he makes this crucial distinction.
What's that?
AI can process information, but it can't truly understand it the way humans do.
Because we have lived experiences, emotions, all that stuff.
Exactly. And that's what gives meaning to our work, our creativity.
AI can mimic, but it can't create from the heart.
He uses the example of the AI Rembrandt project. They created this painting that was technically perfect in Rembrandt's style.
But it didn't have that soul, that human touch.
It's those works that are rooted in genuine human experience that resonate with us.
The stuff that comes from the heart.
Exactly. And SEGA created this SEGA user manual for his employees inspired by Ray Dalio's principles.
Sounds interesting.
It's all about those essential human skills: critical thinking, communication, problem solving, ambition, all that good stuff.
The human operating system.
So let's talk about those specific soft skills that he emphasizes. First up, ambition.
Can't go wrong with ambition.
And he gives this awesome example of the Pokemon Go grandpa from Taiwan.
Wait, what?
This grandpa who attached like a dozen smartphones to his bike so he could play Pokemon Go more effectively.
That's dedication.
Talk about ambition, right? And SEGA's point is AI can help us achieve our ambitions even faster.
Like, think about content creation. You can use AI to write, edit, create images.
And potentially do the work of multiple people, become a slash worker.
And employers are looking for that drive, that willingness to use new tools.
Absolutely. And then there's self-awareness.
Know myself.
Exactly. Understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, what you're passionate about.
Because if you don't know yourself, how can you leverage your potential?
And if you lack self-awareness, you end up blaming external factors when things go wrong.
It's about taking ownership of your growth.
And SEGA even shares his own journey of self-discovery, how he realized he's more of an introvert.
We all have those aha moments.
He even used different personality frameworks, like human design and MBTI.
To better understand himself and his team.
And then, of course, focus.
A rare commodity these days.
Seriously. With all the digital distractions, our attention spans are shrinking.
There was that Microsoft study, right?
Yeah, saying that the average attention span in 2015 was 8 seconds.
Shorter than a goldfish.
Seriously. So being able to focus, to really concentrate on a task, that's a huge advantage.
Deep work is where it's at.
And SEGA has the strategy for achieving flow, that state of deep concentration.
What's his secret?
Disconnecting, turning off notifications, eliminating distractions.
So simple, yet so difficult.
But even short bursts of focused work can be super productive.
Quality over quantity.
And he emphasizes that these soft skills, they're uniquely human, they're timeless.
They're what will set us apart in the AI age.
So let's shift gears and talk about the modern workplace. It's becoming increasingly multi-generational.
5 generations working side by side.
Baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and even Gen Alpha are starting to enter the workforce.
That's a lot of different perspectives and experiences.
And it creates some interesting challenges.
Like communication breakdowns.
Totally. Like SEGA shares these funny stories about generational differences at Akala.
Oh yeah, give me an example.
Like older generations needing bigger font sizes on their phones, younger generations expecting promotions super fast.
Classic.
And then there are